Cathal Pendred here from SBG Ireland, standing alongside Andrew McGann from SevereMMA.
Thank you very much, Cathal. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, due to my fault, a botched interview earlier on, so I'll try not to ask too many of the same questions. But one thing I've noticed, it is your first time going back down to 170 in about a year and a half. So how are you coping with that?
It was something that was on my mind before I started the weight cut. I had done it in a long time, so I wanted to be extra sure that I was on top of it. I started kind of watching my diet a bit sooner than I usually would, just because I hadn't done it in a long time, and it's gone great. I always keep a profile of my weight. Every time I'm cutting weight, I wake up every morning. The first thing I do is weigh myself. So I've been doing that, and then I've been able to look back from my previous weight cuts down to welterweight and see where I stand compared to other weight cuts this far out. So I'm right on target, and as you can see, it's going pretty well.
You're a guy that you'd kind of announce it on social media when you're starting, say, the fighter food diet and stuff like that. For 170, did you have to start it a couple of weeks beforehand, or was it less carbs in general, or just how did you adjust to it?
As compared to 185?
As compared to 185.
Yeah, I started a bit sooner than I would have for 185. I still have to cut a little bit for 185, but I have to be extra strict for 170, and then when it comes towards the end, I have to start restricting the amount of food I eat. Whereas at 185, I can pretty much be eating as much as I want once it's clean. So that's the main difference. It's a little bit more. I don't know, just difficult, restricting calories towards the end. You get the week of emotion, as I call it, 2 weeks out, where you're at your peak training wise, the amount of energy you're spending, and you're at the lowest amount you'd be eating. But once you get to the last week, it's not that bad, because you kind of take the foot off the gas training wise, and it's just about getting the weight down. You're just ticking over.
What was it like the last couple of weeks in SBG with John away in Vegas? I know Gunny was there for, I think, a week and a half after John had left, so you were still getting the good training partners, but I suppose you're not in the worst situation, because Paddy Houlihan is in Canada now without John, and I know you may say it's not a problem, but didn't having him not around the gym, did it affect you in any way, do you think?
No, it didn't affect me at all. Like, we're pros for a long time now, and I've done camps before where John is always doing weeks here and there. He's a world-renowned coach, and he's often traveling around the place. So this isn't the first time I've had a fight coming up where he was away for a couple of weeks. That's all he was away for. He was there for the 8 weeks before that, where I was training for this fight. He's back here now in Sweden with me. In terms of Paddy's there with Ashton Daly, who's been in his corner many times before. She's well capable of the job, and like I said, all the hard work is done. And John has been in the corner of the majority of my fights, but there has been fights where John hasn't been available to do my corner, and my teammates have stepped in, and it's never been an issue for me. And I'm pretty sure Paddy has done the same before, and it's never been an issue for him.
Aside from your opponent looking like an older brother of yours or a distant relative, do you know anything about him? Because I spoke to him today, and he said that he had actually watched pretty much all of your fights available.
Yeah, I didn't know of him basically until I got the fight. That was the first time I'd ever heard the guy. I looked at a couple of fights. I saw his 2 UFC fights, I think, and just to get a feel for him. And I didn't see anything that worries me in particular. I looked at his record. He seems to favour the grappling area. He's obviously a Russian guy coming from a sambo background, so that would make sense. But there's nothing that really stood out for me. And looking at his game, I feel I'm better than him everywhere.
To be honest, I think you got a bit of unwanted or unleveled criticism when you were on the European scene, because welterweight is probably the toughest division in Europe, and people were saying, oh well, he hasn't got a finish in so long, and then you put an exclamation mark on it with Shea Mills, and then with Mike King. Do you think this is the evolved Cathal Pendred that we're finally seeing now?
Yeah, I think because of the person I am and the athlete I am, I think the caliber of fighter I fought throughout my career was always slightly above the skill level that I actually had at the time, as I was developing as a fighter, as I was growing as a fighter. And obviously coming from SBG, a great camp where people learn quickly. I've been learning while I've been fighting, while I've been fighting these guys, and I feel I've got to a point now where I've caught up with my competitors. I believe I've fought so many well experienced guys outside the UFC, and now I've got to the UFC. I'm actually fighting guys who are on par with me, as opposed to fighting guys back in the day. Like, Bill Caden, who was
It's a big fight.
big fight, real veteran. I was only coming out of my exams in college, and I'm fighting this UFC Pride veteran. Look at Bruno Carvalho, who was on a massive win streak, who guy coming down from middleweight, and vastly experienced the judo and BJJ black belt for many years. And I had only really started martial arts at the age of 1920, so I was fighting these guys who on paper had a lot more skill sets, a lot bigger skill sets to me. But now I feel I'm on par, and now I feel like I can put these guys away. Not just because I'm out, out driving them or out working them. Now I believe I'm out skilling them.
And finally, before we let you go, you're talking about putting these guys away. How do you think you're going to put them away on Saturday?
I think I'm gonna submit this guy. I know his favorite area is the grappling area, but I really feel like my submission game has shot through the roof at the moment, and I would love to take this guy out by submission.